Om Sadashivasamārambhām Shankaracharyamध्यamām Asmadacharyaparyantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shrutismritipurananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Samastajanakalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. How many verses we have finished of Guru Stotram? We learned Guru Stotram few verses. You remember? Only 3? No. Okay, chalo. So let us see. First 7 we chant together. Then Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sthavaram Jangamam Vyaptam Yatkinchit Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Chinmayam Vyapiyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sarvashruti Shiro Ratna Virajita Padambujaha Vedantambuja Suryo Yaha Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Chaitanya Shashvata Shanto Vyomatito Niranjanaha Kalatitaha Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay, so now 8th onwards we learn. Jnana Shakti Samarudhaha Tattvamala Vibhushitaha Bhukti Mukti Pradata Cha Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Aneka Janma Samprapta Karma Bandha Vidahine Atma Jnana Pradanena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shoshanam Bhava Sindhoscha Jnapanam Sara Sampadaha Guru Padodakam Samyaka Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Right. So we have seen the importance of the Guru and how the student who has qualified, who has cultivated the fourfold qualifications, then goes to the Guru. Guru Upasadana is what we saw last time. So the need of the Guru, what should one ask the Guru, what should one not ask the Guru, how to tune up, all that we saw. Now There are 3 verses which are there at the end of this lesson 4. So on page number 7 you have. See, these are 7 questions that the disciple has asked. When one goes to the teacher, then what should one ask? People sitting inside there, I don't know what is happening to them. We are finding it here so loud. Inside those who are sitting, बेचारों के कान क्या होते? So these are 7 questions. Let us chant. This is from Vivek Chudamani, verse number 49. Ko nama bandhaha kathamesha agataha katham pratisthasya katham vimokshaha ko savanatma paramah ka atma tayor viveka kathametadutyatam. So these are 7 very, very important questions, most fundamental questions. See, the more fundamental is the question, more deeper is the clarity. So this fundamental question he's asking here are, Ko nama bandha, what is exactly bondage? Many times we think, bondage is because of my family, because of my work, because of my social obligations, because of all this is the bondage. So what is bondage exactly? What actually binds us? Whether it is, many times we think our karma binds us, or people outside bind us, work binds us, society binds us. But the student has understood none of these. So he wants to know exactly what is the root cause of this bondage. So ko nama bandha, what is bondage exactly? Kathamesha agata, from where has it come? Many times we want to know the cause. No? For any problem that we go through, when we identify what is the cause, then we want to get out of that by removing the cause. So this bondage, the seeker is one who is feeling that bondage. If you remember when we saw about that, how to identify a guru, in that it was said that a person who is sick is the one who wants a doctor. That person will go to seek the doctor. So in Vedanta, what is that? One who is feeling bound, one who is feeling the dukkha in samsara, one who is feeling the pain of finitude, that person is asking these questions. Fourfold qualification one has cultivated. So ko nama bandha, from where this bondage has come? How does it, what is bondage? From where has it come? What is the cause of my sorrow and suffering? When did it begin? Many times we ask, what is the first birth? If this is my problem, this birth is because of karma. What is my first birth? What was my karma then? Basically it is meaning from where did my bondage start? Kathamesha agata. Katham pratisthasya. How is this bondage sustained? Because it is not inflicted from somewhere outside. There is some other reason behind it. So how is it being sustained continuously? Because everything which is finite in this realm will end. But this bondage doesn't seem to end as though, because it is cycle after cycle, birth after birth, one is going on and on. So how is it sustained? Because if we say that, this family is the cause of problem, or the government is the cause of problem, or society is the cause of problem, some of them they end, the person dies, society changes, situations change, but still bondage is not going. So from where this bondage came, how is it sustained? Katham pratisthasya. And then very important, katham vimoksha. I want to know how to be liberated from this. See, the understanding of moksha depends on also the understanding of bondage. If I think that moksha, so if I think bondage is my family, then moksha is what? Leave the family and go away. Moksha. If bondage is because of karma, leave all karma. Bondage is no karma, just sit quietly. The freedom is sit quietly. So when we ask this question, what is bondage? It's a very, very important question. Because concept of moksha also depends on that. So what was I saying? What is our concept of bondage? That determines what will be the concept of liberation. So many people think that sorrow in this world is the cause of bondage. Old age, disease, death is bondage. So freedom from old age, disease, death is moksha. Where will you get this? Heaven. In heaven there is no old age. You will be eternally young. No disease, so there are no hospitals there. And no death. You just appear and disappear. As you are talking to somebody, if that person disappears, it means their punya karma is over. You are talking to somebody, suddenly one jiva appears, that means, oh, this punya karma has come, so now. So, there is no old age, there is no disease, there is no death. So, if I think old age, disease, death is bondage, then moksha is go to heaven. If I think that I am bound because I am living with the world, with the people here, and if I am close to Bhagwan, then that is freedom. Then moksha is go to the lok where Bhagwan is. Go lok, Saket lok, Vaikunt lok, Kailash. Go to the lok. So what is my concept of bondage? That determines what is my concept of moksha. See, in any disease, it is very, very important to diagnose what is the root cause. If root cause is not found out, we may be actually be treated for a wrong disease also. And it may lead to many other complications. One man, he went to the doctor. He said, "Doctor, I'm very scared, doctor. I have jaundice, doctor. Please help me, doctor." He said, "Okay, I will help you, but why are you so scared?" He says, "No, doctor. My neighbor also had jaundice, doctor. But finally he died out of typhoid." He says, "Don't worry. If I diagnose you out of jaundice, you'll die out of jaundice. Not out of typhoid." So it goes on, the diagnosis of the problem is a very, very important aspect. That what is that which is the root cause of my suffering, not the symptoms. So, ko nama bandha, the first question is a very important question. What is binding me? This we can apply even in our day-to-day life, not only at Vedantic level. If my mind is disturbed, I may say, because this person said like this, I am disturbed. Because that thing happened like that, I am disturbed. Or that didn't happen like that, so I am disturbed. But that is only a symptom. There is some attachment in my mind. That attachment is the cause why I am disturbed. There is certain non-acceptance. So that is a deeper cause. Still, if you identify why that attachment is there, still one deeper cause will come out. So continuously, one has to inquire till one comes to that point of what is the root cause of my sorrow. So, ko nama bandha. From what is this bondage? From where did it come? How does it sustain itself? That's another important point, because we only sustain this bondage. If we want it to end, it will end. However bad the movie is, we have a choice or not to get up and go. But we won't go. Paisa vasool karna hai. Sit there. Keep on watching. I am sustaining my sorrow and suffering. I have a choice to walk out any time. So, katham pratishthasya, how is it being sustained? And katham vimoksha, how will I get freedom from this bondage? Now these 4 questions. Then, ko asau anatma. What is exactly anatma? And paramaka atma. And what is that supreme atma? See, this and all these questions, so the student has already thought through and he has come because he knows that there is something called Atma and Anatma because he has done some study earlier, some sadhana has happened, some Vivek is there, so Vivek has also been cultivated. So one is asking, what is this Anatma exactly? And what is the Supreme Atma? I may have read about it, but I don't know exactly because those are words. Satchidanand, if one says, what does that mean? What state does it indicate? I don't know. So, Kosavanatma, Paramaka Atma, Tayor Viveka Katham, and how to distinguish between these two. Please tell me. So, the first line is about bondage, the second line is actually the means to liberation. Ko Asavanatma, because Atma, Anatma, Vivek, if I know how to do, through that the knowledge will rise of who am I, and that will lead us to freedom. So now these 7 questions that the student has asked, these questions are the basis for the next part of this whole course. There are 2 more other verses which are given for reflection. They are general verses about how the Guru comes into one's life by the grace of the Lord and what attitude is there with which the student goes to the Guru. The attitude with which one goes is this. See the verse number 40 in Vivek Chudamani. This is on page 8. Katham tareyam bhava sindhu metam kava gatir me katamostyupayaha jane na kinchit kripaya vamam prabho samsara dukkha kshati matanushva. So this is verse 40, which is a general prayer or a general submission of the student about his suffering. The verse 49, what we just saw, 7 questions, those are the specific questions. This is the general attitude before. Katham tareyam bhava sindhu metam. How can I cross this ocean of samsara? This thirst to constantly become something, that fulfillment is not there. So how do I overcome this feeling of incompleteness? Katham tareyam bhava sindhu metam. Kava gatir me. What will be my gati? What will be my gati meaning? The word gati generally is used for what will be the gati when the body is dropped. But here it also means that if till I don't realize that what is my gati, will I constantly suffer like this? When will I get free? When will I get happiness? Kava gatir me. And for that, what is the upay? Katamost upaya. What is the solution to end this bhavsagar? Jane na kinchit. I don't know anything. Please don't think that I am, one goes with that bhav to the Sadguru that I don't know anything. One may be great scholar, pandit, whatever. But when one goes to the Sadguru, one goes because the teacher is experienced, established in the self. One may have read many, many books, one may be giving lectures, one may be very intellectual, but realization is something else altogether. And in front of that, this is nothing. Intellectual information is nothing. In fact, intellectual information sometimes can lead us to some other track only. Last Sunday only there was one article in the Times of India, Speaking Tree, about Shankaracharya ji and monism. What an article, Hare Rama. And the thing is that university has given degree also to that person. Strange it is. You just think 15 years one has gone round and round to prove that Advaita Vedanta is not relevant anymore. Advaita Vedanta is not relevant anymore means you are not relevant anymore. because it is talking about Brahman, the self, which is your own true nature. Can you imagine 15 साल किसी का निकल गया ऐसे ही. This is called intellectual gymnastics. One goes on doing something and prove it also, and degree also one gets, and then realization remains far somewhere. So he says, I don't know anything. Jane na kinchit kripayava mam prabhu. Oh, Lord, please protect me. When we say no, that Om Sahana Vavatu, first thing we say is, may the Lord protect us. Protect us from what? There are so many things one has to protect oneself from. But one of the things is one's own intellectual wrong notions. Which one is thinking is right? From one's own ignorance, which makes us feel that I am very knowledgeable or I know already. Many times people go to the lecture and sit and listen. This I know, this also I know, that also I know. Nothing new I learned today. One man, he was in the audience and he asked J. Krishnamurti that, so many times, so many things people ask you. For everything you go on saying, observe your mind, observe your mind. Is there nothing else that you can tell us? No, J. Krishnamurti, he said, sir, that only shows that you are here to collect new ideas. You are not interested in the truth. Because if you want to know the truth, that is a straight path. Observe your mind. You will know. So how much is one interested in the truth and how much is one interested in the so many other aspects? One has to protect oneself from that. So Kripayava Mam Prabhu, oh Lord, please protect this fire of seeking in me. Janena kinchit, I don't know. With that humility one goes. Samsara dukkha kshatimata nushva. And please tell me how to end this samsara dukkha. In detail, you please tell me. So with this bhav, one has gone to the teacher, and with that bhav, one has asked specifically those 7 questions. Ko nama bandha kathamesha agata. So in that ko asav anatma paramaka atma. So the description of anatma starts first. First 4 questions will be answered after that. Why he takes up this ko asav anatma? Because right now our identification is with the anatma. So there is a mix-up that has happened. What is atma and what is anatma has got mixed up. So now this 5th lesson starts with that. The description of anatma, when it starts here, see, we should remember one important point, and that is that this whole description here is not for us to understand the beauty of anatma. It is to understand I am not this. Because people get very fascinated by this. And they start getting very involved in the understanding of this anatma. Ki how can this be like this? How can that be like that? From where did this come? How did that manifest? You will see now, today's class only you will experience it. Nice it will be. But the basic point we should remember ki our point is not to be fascinated by anatma. Our point is to be detached from this anatma. This is not me. However glorious it may be. This iPhone works so beautifully. This iPad works fantastically. But do I consider this is me? No. If I misunderstand this to be me, then gone. So that's what has happened. This anatma, so the meaning of the word atma is what? Atma means I. The word atma means I. But today, this I don't know who is this real I. So I made this small I. I think I am this small I. But the fact is, atma is the big I. It is a pure consciousness, infinite reality. The very word atma means aham, I. And anatma means what is not I. So now to understand this anatma, what is necessary is there are three things that I have to understand, that this is not the Atma. What are those three things? The three things are the three bodies, the three states of consciousness, and 5 koshas. Okay. The three bodies are gross body, subtle body, and which body? Repeat again. Again. Don't say casual body. People say casual body, gross body, subtle body, casual body. No, no, no. Causal body. Karana Sharir it is called. Sthul Sharir, Sukshma Sharir, Karana Sharir. Three states of consciousness are waking, dream, and deep sleep. And 5 koshas are food sheath, Annamaya kosha, vital air sheath, Pranamaya kosha, mental sheath is Manomaya kosha, intellectual sheath is Vijnanamaya kosha, and bliss sheath is Anandamaya kosha. This entire realm is Anatma. I am not this. But today I am thinking I am only this. And what is this real I? This I don't know. So, ko asav anatma. What is this anatma? Is what the student is asking now. So, the teacher starts describing from there. What is very important is whenever a student asks a question to the teacher, in the scriptures we should find out for this question, where is the answer? 7 questions are there, no? Where are the answers for each of these 7? Because the student has asked in one particular order. Teacher may not answer in that order. Teacher may answer in a different order to make the student understand properly. So now he is answering from this standpoint. So first he starts with this aspect, the definition of sthula sharir, which is this gross body. Why this is important to know? See, we may not know. So some of us know this because we have studied in other earlier books. But we should remember the student has gone to the teacher. And till one doesn't go to Vedanta, many times one doesn't even know some of these things. Like there is a causal body, who knows? Till I came to Vedanta, I had no idea there is something called causal body. But in that terminology we don't know, correct. Gross subtle terminology we don't know, but we know there is a body, there is a mind. That much we know. Mind and intellect difference? No idea. Deep sleep state? Nobody knows. One experiences it also happily. But one doesn't know that is called deep sleep state. And what is the importance of that? No idea. Sleep means dream. So we only know 2 states, waking and dream. Now deep sleep, then Turiya Avastha, 4th one, Bapre. So till we come to Vedanta, we don't even know some of these. So when the student is asking what is Anatma, it doesn't mean the student knows zero. The student may know some things, but the student may not know it completely. And half-baked knowledge is terrible. Either we should have no knowledge or we should have proper full knowledge. In between, if we are, there is a lot of confusion. So now one by one is describing everything. Now when this is being described, it has to be described, it is described not as an information, it has to be felt that this is Anatma. So when the Sthul Sharira has been described, it has to be felt that okay, this is the body which is going through all this, I am not this. Our false identification has to go. So now let us see this. Definition is there on page 2 in lesson 5. This is taken from Tattva Bodh. So what is the meaning of Sthula Sharira? Sthula means gross. What is the meaning of gross? Gross means that which is perceptible to the senses. This body is perceptible to the senses. You can see, hear, taste, smell, touch the body. Is the mind perceptible to the senses? Can I see my thoughts? Lucky. Others can't see. Otherwise, there will be chaos in this world. Recently, one very funny thing happened. You know, this Alexa is there, no? Alexa. So you ask Alexa and it will reply and all that. So what happened? Two people were conversing, and that conversation, as it went on, this person has actually saved one email in his draft folder which he has written to the opposite person. In course of the conversation, Alexa picked up something and Alexa read out that entire email. Confusion galore. Absolutely. That person couldn't even imagine that would happen. These are technical glitches, all this, something keeps happening. So he thought he had saved all that, and he did not send it. But he had written what all things in that nasty stuff he had written in that. It all came out. So luckily people can't read our thoughts. But now with technology, we have to be very careful because technology can read our thoughts. Then unnecessarily it will create confusion. So sukshma means that which is not perceptible. So sthula is this, sthula sharir. So what is this made up of? Let us see. Panchikrita Panchamahabhutaihi kritam Satkarmajanyam Sukha Dukkhadi Bhogayatanam Shariram Asti Jayate Vardhate Viparinamate Apakshiyate Vinashyati Iti Shadvikara Vadetat Sthula Shariram. So Sthula means which is perceptible, and Sharira means that which is prone to decay and destruction. Shiryamanatvat Sharira, that which is prone to decay. Every single minute it is decaying. So now what is this body made up of? Panchikrita Panchamahabhutahi Kritam. It is made up of 5 grossified elements. We will come to that description. First let us see the literal meaning. 5 grossified elements make up this body. Satkarma Janyam. What is the cause of this human body? It is born out of the good karmas of the past. Sukha Dukkha Adi Bhoga Ayatanam. It is an instrument to experience Sukha and Dukkha. Means all the experiences of life. That is called Shariram, body. 6 modifications it goes through. Shadvikara Vadetat. What are the 6? Asti, it is conceived. Jayate, it is born. Vardhate, it grows. Viparinamate, it changes. Apakshiyate, it decays. Vinashyati, it dies. This is called the Sthula Sharira. Please remember, this is called Sthula Sharira. This is not I. But today, for me, this last line is what? Shadvikarva detat aham. Not Sthula Shariram. This is me. So now Panchikrita Panchamahabhutahi Kritam. So what are the 5 great elements? Mahabhuta, Bhuta, element. Mahabhuta, great element. So what are the 5 great elements? What you should do is you should remember this order. Space, air, fire, water, earth. In Vedanta, this is important because this is in decreasing order of subtlety. The subtlest is that which is not perceptible, which has least properties. So least amount of changes. Grossest is that which has maximum properties, maximum changes. Hence it is called grossest. So space is the subtlest. Why? You cannot see, hear, taste, smell, touch. But it exists because it is in space that everything is. Avakashatvat akasha. Then air, you can feel. So touch. Fire, you can feel and see. Water, you can feel, you can see, you can taste. And earth, so you can feel, you can taste, you can touch, all that. And smell. So space, actually, sound is the quality of space. So one says, okay, that is, you cannot hear space obviously, but in space sound will be there. Without, if no space, no sound, no object, nothing will be there. So these are 5 great elements. And the creation happens in this order. So when each element is 100% complete by itself, that is called as tanmatra. Tanmatra means that alone. Tanmatra. That alone. So the subtle 5 elements are called tanmatras. Space is only space, full, nothing else but space. This order also is very beautiful. Now you may say, but how do we know that the creation happened in this order? Space, air, fire, water, earth. So the example is in our own life. Right now you are sitting. You are like space. If all of you start moving, that will be like air. If you keep moving, what will happen? Heat is generated in the body. When heat is generated, what will happen? One will perspire. And if you want to save water, you don't want to take bath for many days, then what happens? Earth will solidify on the body. So you see in our own body how space, air, fire, water, earth is there. Another person gave a very nice example. The feet are like the earth. Reproductive organs and evacuating organs, they are like that water. Then stomach has the fire. Then lungs is the air. And this is space, empty. Space, air, fire, water, earth is there in our body also. That's why our master said what is in the microcosm is there in the macrocosm also. So these elements are created, and now these elements, from each of them, see, they come from Maya. And Maya has 3 gunas: Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Now each of these elements also have Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, because what is there in the cause will be there in the effect. So if Maya is the cause, Maya has 3 gunas. From Maya come 5 elements. These 5 elements also will have 3 gunas. So now see this, what happens? I am giving only one example. First of one element. Okay, so now this is space. Now this space is divided into, let us say, 3 parts: Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Okay. Now Sattva is the guna of knowledge. So what happens? From the sattvic aspect of space comes the sense of hearing. From the sattvic aspect of air comes the sense of feeling. From the sattvic aspect of fire comes the sense of seeing. Feeling meaning touching. So hearing, touching, seeing. From sattvic aspect of air comes tasting. And sattvic aspect of earth comes smelling. So these 5 senses of knowledge come from the sattvic aspect of 5 elements. All this is there in your book, so don't worry. Collective sattvic aspect of each element what does it give rise to? Collective sattvic aspect of all the 5 elements gives rise to the mind. Panchamahabhuta is the 5 elements. Each element divided into 3. In that sattva guna of each element brings one sense of knowledge. But sattva guna of all the 5 elements combined put together brings about the antakarana, mind. So mind is divided into 4 for the sake of our understanding in Vedanta. So mind, intellect, memory and ego. This is called antakarana, inner instrument. So this sattvic aspect of 5 elements gives rise to antakarana. Now this rajoguna. So this rajasic aspect of this 5 elements. Each element, rajasic aspect, will give rise to one's faculty of action. So space will give rise to the faculty of movement, locomotion, represented by the feet. Air will give rise to the grasping, hands. Fire will give rise to the ability to speak. Then water gives rise to the ability of reproduction. And earth, evacuation. So 5 senses of action are produced from this rajasic aspect of the elements. So this rajasic aspect of space produces movement or locomotion. If you want, you can make for each of them one circle. Sattvic aspect of space, no, like that for fire. So sorry, for air. Air, sattvic aspect will give rise to touching, and rajasic aspect will give rise to grasping. Like that. Fire, the sattvic aspect will give rise to seeing, and rajasic aspect will give rise to speaking. Then water, sattvic aspect will give rise to tasting, rajasic aspect will give rise to reproduction. And earth, sattvic aspect gives rise to smell, and rajasic aspect gives rise to evacuation. Now this much is clear. Sattvic aspect of all the 5 elements combined together brings out mind, intellect, memory, ego. Rajasic aspect of all the elements combined together brings about 5 pranas. Rajasic aspect will give 5 pranas. Prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. Now these are all, please remember, faculties. When you do the subtle body, no, it will come more detailed, so don't worry. In subtle body, this will be explained more detail. So eye is the gross organ, but the ability to see is called the sense faculty. Now that sense faculty remains in the subtle body. It manifests through the eyes. Till now what we have seen is only the subtle creation of the individual's mind, of the individual's senses, of the individual's pranas. 5 pranas, 10 senses, mind, intellect, memory, ego. These 19 items is what we have seen so far. But these require a body to function. That is this Sthula Sharira. Now how is this Sthula Sharira made? This tamasic aspect, no, is left out. Now what happens is, as I told you till now, it is tanmatra. Each element is independent, it has not mixed with the other. Now the next step will be the tamasic aspect of each element will mix with each other. Sattvic rajasic aspect doesn't mix. So if you see in your book this diagram which is here, this ellipse which is there, no, elliptical form. This elliptical form is not full space. This elliptical form is only for the tamasic aspect of space or air or fire, water, earth. So don't confuse this. What we have here, no, in the T aspect, this 1/3 is actually represented as the full circle here, full elliptical form here. Okay, if you want to note that, please note, don't confuse, because you will say, अरे इसमें तो space is divided into 2, यहाँ पे 3 कैसे हो गया? This is about the tamasic aspect. Am I becoming clear? This T part, na, which is there, this T, which is 1/3 of that element, that is depicted here into the full ellipse. So if you actually go to see, it will be 1/3. Now when it is said that this 1/3, now how this mixture of this tamasic aspect happens? So this 1/3 goes through half. Okay, first the tamasic aspect of each element divides into 2. Now when this divides into 2, one part remains as it is and the other part divides into 4 equal parts. Now here I am not able to show in 4 equal parts, I am just going to draw 4 parts, but in this you will see here, there are 4 equal parts. Okay, so these 4 parts, each of these parts will go to the other elements. So space, one part will remain here, 1/2 of this space remains here. These 4 parts, one will go to air, one will go to fire, one will go to water, one will go to earth, and each of their parts will come here. So now space has become what? This 1/3 of space divided into half, no? So that is how much? 1/6. So this tamasic aspect of space is made up of 1/6 of space, and then this divided into 4 parts, right? No, not 4/6. 1/24. 1/6 and 1/4 of one. No, actually 1/6 of each comes here. No. Wait. This is 1/3, right? 1/3 divided into 2, so 1/6. Correct? That 1/6 divided by 4 is how much? Each part is how much? 1/24, no? Correct. So that's how it is. 1/24 only. Correct. I got confused unnecessarily. 1/24. So it is 1/24 of air, 1/24 of fire, 1/24 of water, 1/24 of earth. This is called tamasic aspect of space. Okay. Meaning each element has the other 4 incorporated. Now like that you make for every element. Now this mixes with each other to form our body. If you ask me a proof of this, it is not possible. That's why Shraddha was said before. How to prove this? Our body does not exist when this is happening, no? When the 5 elements have split, gone through this Panchikarana process, our body only is not created. So how will we ever know this? Then how to believe this? Shraddha. To great masters in their quiet moment, this has been revealed that this is how the creation process has happened. If you want to believe it, believe it. But what is the important point in this? See, what is the nature of tamoguna? Nature of tamas is ignorance, dullness. And this body is made up of tamasic aspect of the 5 elements, also 5 grossified elements. The quality of sattva is what? brilliance, knowledge, peace. All these are qualities of sattva. So the mind is made up of sattva, and that also 5 ungrossified elements. And the body is made up of tamas. What should govern what? Subtler always governs the gross. That's why we say, when in English they say, na, mind over matter. Mind over matter is because of this. Because mind is always subtler than the body, matter. Today scientists also saying that or not every single thought in the mind leads to a contraction in the body. Gross body this is. So it's very interesting. Mind, when it grossifies, becomes the body, so it is called gross body. And the body, if it becomes subtle, it is called subtle body, which is the mind. So this sattva and tamas, the basic point from sadhana standpoint to understand is, why is it that today my mind is controlled by my body? Because I have given into tamas. Because I have not understood what is the power of my mind. Mind is that because of which the body is what it is. But if I don't operate at from mind level, I am operating more attached to the body level, then my mind is a victim of my own body. So now this gross body is made up of these 5 grossified elements. Panchikrita Panchamahabhutaihi Kritam. And also one important point in this is, it is inert. Do the 5 elements have any life by themselves? No. Which means what? Body also has no life by itself. See, these have a lot of deep implications in Vedanta. It is not only for theoretical understanding. If somebody dies, now you think about it, who dies? Body dies. Can the body die? Body is already dead. Because it's made up of only 5 elements. Does the mind die? Because the mind is enlivened by consciousness, the mind is going from one body to another. Does the Atma die? So who died? Nobody died. But why is our sorrow there? Because I think that I am this body and the opposite person also is that body. Now I am not able to connect to that opposite person through that body, and I was attached to that entity through the body. So now that entity gone from there. Now I am miserable. Actually speaking, nobody died. Because body was already dead. Body does not have any life on its own. Which means what? I am not going to die. I am not Jadavastu. Today I am thinking I am the Jadavastu. I, the consciousness, have forgotten my true nature. Now I am thinking I am this. So that's why the question is ko asav anatma. This anatma has become atma. He says no. This body is panchikrita panchamahabhutai krita, meaning it is only a product of 5 elements. Do the 5 elements belong to me? It's very strange. Before body is born, 5 elements are not mine. But after the body I got, suddenly these 5 elements have become mine. This much space is mine. This much air is mine. When this body dies, does the 5 element remain with me? The body will go back to the 5 elements. Will it stop even for a minute? No. The moment this jiva leaves this body, what happens? Immediate disintegration happens. You have to embalm it if you want to keep it alive, proper. Otherwise it will decompose. It will start stinking. Bharya bibhyati tasmin kaye. And how strange it is. Till now you were a person, now you have become a body. Till now they were calling you with a name. Sunil आएंगे, Sunil करेगा, Sunil ऐसा होगा, Sunil वैसा करेगा. Now, Sunil का body लाओ, इसको ले जाओ. अरे, See that's the body. So panchikrita panchamahabhutai kritam. It is only inert jada vastu. This vivek has to be done. That I am not the five elements. I am the enlivener of five elements. This panchamahabhuta. But identified with this, oh Bapre, what all identification one has. So we'll see that as we go along. So panchikrita panchamahabhutai kritam. Now satkarma janyam, that's a very important aspect. This human body is got because of the good karmas of the past. 84 lakh species if we go through biologically, when nature pushes us to evolve, till one comes to human birth, there is no conscious desire to evolve. Nature only pushes. A fish will never want to become a amphibian. From fish to amphibian, no? Then to reptile, right? It doesn't have its own desire, now let me become. Biologically, nature will push from one species to another. And in some species, it can live for many lives. Please remember 84 lakh species. If you remember when we did this in the first verse, first chapter, Jantunam Narajanma Durlabham. How rare is human body? Why? Because buddhi is there, self-awareness is there. So Satkarma Janyam. So what is said? In general, the principle is, if my punya is more than papa, then I go into the higher realms. Deva, Yaksha, Gandharva, Kinnara, all those. If my papa is more than punya, I go into the lower realms, Asuryoni, Rakshasyoni, Nagayoni, all that. But if my punya and papa are fairly equal, then I get what? Human body. Now, Satkarma Janyam. So one has to keep doing good karmas. And all these karmas which one has done in the earlier human lives, they only give the next human life. Because in any of the animal yonis, any karma that is done, there is no intention, there is no self-awareness, so that is not counted at all. That is only bhoga yoni. Manusha yoni only is the karma yoni. So, when he says here, Satkarma Janyam, meaning it is got as a result of good karma, so one should use this opportunity well, because when this body will come next, human body, no guarantee. Sukha Dukkhari Bhoga Ayatanam. It is an instrument to experience Sukha and Dukkha. So it is not that the body is experiencer. Body is the instrument. Experiencer is the jiva, mind and intellect. It's like a counter. Through the counter, there is a person who is behind the counter. Through the counter, that person is transacting. So the bank is there, the counter, one is sitting behind the counter and the customer comes across the counter, one is transacting. It's like how it is a counter. Same way the jiva is the experiencer, the instrument is the sukha dukkhadi bhoga sadhana. Then 6 modifications it goes through. Asti, it is conceived. So first few months of the conception, the jiva is not associated with the gross body. The body grows as a part of the mother's body. So in some of the Upanishads, Garbha Upanishad, etc., it is said at 3 months the jiva connects. Then the jiva is an independent entity. Otherwise, till then it is the bodies which is the part of mother's body. So asti, it is conceived. Jayate, then after 9 months it is born. Who is born? Body is born. Who is conceived? Body is conceived. I am not conceived. I am existing already before the body came. Please remember that. The word asti indicates that. No? In Zen they have this exercise. Imagine your face before you were born. People start imagining how I was looking. The exercise is not to find out how you were looking or what was your life before you were born in this body. The exercise is to make us aware that I am not the body, I have existed before the body is born, and I will exist even after the body is dead. While also the body is there, it is dead only. And just because consciousness is identified with this, so one thinks I am this. So asti, it is existing. Then jayate, it is born. Then vardhate, it grows. How does it grow? By food. Some become less pervasive, some become more pervasive. But by food. Asti, jayate, vardhate, one grows. Viparinamate, goes through changes. At different points in time, one's life, one goes through a lot of changes. Biological changes. Then, as one grows, after a point, one starts deteriorating. Apakshiyate. And finally, vinashyati, the body dies. Shad vikaravad etat sthula shariram. These 6 modifications, what goes through, that is this gross body. Now, these 6 modification, what goes through is the gross body. Nowhere it is said this 6 modification I am going through. So when the body dies, I don't die. When the body is born, I am not born. When the body grows, I am not growing. I am the sakshi of all these 6 modifications. So a person who understands this from sadhana standpoint, the more deeper, as I said, the more fundamental questions we ask, more better is the clarity. So these are fundamental concepts. But these are not to be understood as, okay, I know what are the 6 modifications. That I may know, understandable. But what is the implication of these 6? That body is born, I am not born. I have always existed. That's why Gurudev sometimes used to roar in his class. In 2nd chapter of the Gita, when he speaks, he says, everybody dies, but no one dies. And all these people who are sleeping now will get up suddenly. What? Everybody dies, no one dies. What did he say? And 3-4 times he will repeat loudly, everybody dies, no one dies. Then he will say, everybody dies, no one dies. Because body is already dead. You are that one pure consciousness that doesn't die. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit. Nayam kujaschinna babuhuva kaschit. It is neither born nor it will die. That is a pure consciousness. But identify with this. You just think, whole life of our goes in doing what? Pampering the body. Either pamper the body or do body shaming. Either of these are not required. Only take care of the body. That's all. This is an instrument. Swamiji, forget our body. We pamper other things also that we have. What all one does to pamper. What is actually made up of? 5 elements. Inert 5 elements. And if you actually see the composition of this body, what is it? Skin, bone, flesh, marrow, blood, muscle. Any one item also independently do we like? None of them we like. You know what we call this body? It is called M-cube. Manure making machine. Nice food we eat, this body converts it into manure. Manure making machine this is. And Gurudev used to call this as mobile manure. Because when this body dies, it will be buried, it becomes manure only. The 60-70 kgs of mobile manure. If we say like that, it seems terrible, no? Manure, cow dung. We actually do that activity. Take cow dung, put it on the face. With youngsters, we do that activity. When we teach Bhajagovindam, etan mamsavasadi vikaram manase vichintaya varam varam. This is a modification of flesh and fat. And they say, oh, yeah, cow dung, cow dung. But the body is that only, it's manure only it is. It's just that packaged very nicely. So when we see these 6 modifications, Vairagya must come to us that am I this bundle of dirt and filth? Little if you scratch this, oh Bapre, stink and smell will come. But when this is assembled together, suddenly one starts loving this body. And one thinks, I am this body. And one's definition comes from this body. If the color of the skin is a particular color, one feels superior. You just think it's pigmentation of the skin. White skin is superior, brown skin is mediocre, black skin is inferior. Hare Rama. Color of the skin. All are going to be burnt. Nothing will remain white, black, brown, nothing. It will all burn. And the best part is this, people who are white, they will come, sit in the sun, tan themselves and get a brown skin. And these people who are brown, they will try to put fair and lovely and become more and more white. All from Vedanta standpoint, one is saying, okay, toys, one is playing, okay, keep playing. When one understands this body, I am not, then actually Vedanta starts from there. Asti, Jayate, Vardhate, Viparinamate, Apakshiyati and Vinashyati. These 6 are modifications of the body. You just think now how much our self-esteem goes. If we put on little more weight, Bapre. And if somebody says, you look more healthy nowadays, that's a polite way of saying you have put on more weight. And if somebody directly says, I think you are looking fat, don't insult me. One place I went to learn something, I went. There the teacher was calling that lady, Behenji abhi aap karo. That lady got offended. She said, Behenji mat bola humko. Mera naam so and so hai. Behenji kyun bula rahe ho? You just think, how much attachment is there to this body, that self-image? And if one loses weight, one feels so good. Ah, what is that? You lost little bit of 5 elements. You put on little more of 5 elements. This is not to say that I should not do sadhana, I should not maintain my fitness. I should do all that. But my self-image cannot depend on the body. This is from Vedanta standpoint. In the world, one may say some people are in that profession only. Now what will they do? That is their job, that's their choice. They are doing that. But from Vedanta standpoint, Asti, Jayate, Vardhate, Viparinamate, Apakshiyati and Vinashyati. This is 6 modifications that the body will go through, not me. And the body is made up of 5 elements. Grossified 5 elements. And the body is called Sharira. It is continuously decaying. Now when I identify with this gross body and I experience this world outside, then what I experience is called as the Jagrat Avastha. See, the definition of Vedanta is fantastic. What is the Jagrat Avastha? Waking state. Vedanta did not say that from morning 7 o'clock to evening 9 o'clock is waking state. No, no, no. Whenever I identify with the gross body and through the senses, I experience the world outside. That state is called waking state. So 3 points. Identify with gross body. Through the senses, I experience the world outside. That state is called Jagrat Avastha. Waking state. In Bengali, they don't pronounce V. So instead of waking state, they say baking state. Baking state. But it's a fact also. We are getting baked in sansar nicely in this waking state. So waking state is this. And identified with that waking ego, this I is called Vishwa. Those of you who have done Foundation Vedanta course, you know all this. We have done in Foundation Vedanta course also, but here it is just like a revision, quick revision. So who is the Vishwa? Consciousness identified with the gross body is the Vishwa, right? Consciousness plus gross body is equal to Vishwa. So who is actually called Vishwa? Consciousness is called Vishwa. There is no separate I other than consciousness. So this consciousness, when it is identified with this gross body, it becomes Vishwa. Vishwa is the generic name of the waking state ego. So each of us is the Vishwa right now. If you are in waking state, if you are in dream deep sleep, then you are not Vishwa. Then you have a different identity. But the thing is that you will not know if you are in that state. You won't hear this also. So anyway, the point is that the generic name of the individual ego of the waking state is called Vishwa. To identify each other separately, now we have a name. But that's only the name for distinction. Otherwise, all of us are right now called Vishwa. And what is that Vishwa? Consciousness identified with the gross body. So when we say Anatma, this gross body is the Anatma. This consciousness is the Atma. And Vishwa is the mixture of Atma and Anatma. Okay. So this gross body, when it is fully functioning, and that is the strangest part. Now, why am I learning this about Vishwa suddenly? Identified with this gross body, that infinite consciousness, which is all pervasive, now identifies with one small body and becomes Jiva, this Vishwa. One aspect. Second aspect is, this gross body is experienced only in the waking state. Which means what? In only 1/3 of my existence, I am aware of this gross body. In the other 2/3, I am not even aware. But still, this waking state becomes the primary state. Now, even if I think from this standpoint that my 2/3 of my existence is without this body, and how much I am depending on this body, that I am this, I am this, I am this. The fact is, I am not even this. So now this is the reason why I am understanding this waking state, because only in the waking state this gross body is experienced. And the same gross body, the same three bodies model which is there, no? Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, Sharira, is also in the Panchakosha model. So the gross body in Panchakosha is what? Annamaya Kosha. Because the body is made up of food. Annam. Interesting is, what is Annam? That which is eaten by the beings. And which eats the beings is called Annam. Think, this is the definition of food. You ask any chef to define food. Can they define like this? Define what is food. Annam. This is from Taittiriya Upanishad. Adyate atticha bhutani. Tasmadannam taduchyata iti. Adyate, that which is being eaten by the beings. And atti, that which eats the beings. Adyate atticha bhutani. That is called Annam. So if I think I am eating pizza dosa, that pizza dosa is actually eating me. How strange it is. It's called delusion. No, I think I am eating it, but the food is telling me, no, I am eating you. Who is eating whom? You must say, no, Swamiji, both are eating each other. That is a fact. Both are eating each other. I am a Sakshi of both. But today I am identifying, no, I am this eater. That is the food that is eaten. I am not that actually. I am not that, I am not this, both. And how strange that whole thing is. Maya is like that. Food, when it is outside, is food. That which goes outside my body, that is waste product. But when it is inside my body, that suddenly that food becomes I. This is all moha. Annamaya kosha it is. Now what is the meaning of the word kosha? Kosha means covering. That which covers this, what that which covers something, that is called kosha. Like this table. Now this table is covered by this cloth. So this cloth is the kosha. In the same way, this gross body, when we say it is covering, so please remember, this covering is not a real covering. The covering is in the form of identification. Because Atma is not some small little thing to be covered by this body. But many people think like that Atma is inside. Inside means where? Not inside this body somewhere, one small little thing. No. Covered means that Atma, which is infinite, identifies itself to be this small little body. And with this identification comes what? The notion. What is the notion? I am a man, I am tall, I am dark, I am young. All those notions will come through this. This false identification is called covering. So this is the anatma. This false identification is what makes me feel I am this gross body. But I am not this. So from sadhana standpoint, that's what one has to identify, that this is just the body is fair, body is dark, body is young, body is old, body will be born, body will die. I am not this. This one whole week, not one whole week, now so you have one full month. There's one exercise you can keep doing. In the day, just remind yourself, I am not the body, I have a body. Just one sentence. Even 10 times in a day if you remember and feel. Don't remember, I am not a body, I have a body. Done. No. You have to feel that. Yeah, I am not the body. This body is just a byproduct of food. I have existed before body, I will exist after the body dies. So one who knows this very clearly, that person has become free. So as we go along, we will see more. Now when I am identified with this body, what happens? Pleasure of the body is my pleasure. So with the senses, I want to enjoy. What a world Bhagavan has created. And people say that also. Swamiji, such a fantastic world this is. So much to see, hear, taste, smell, touch. What variety is there? What beautiful things are there? And you say all this, you should just withdraw, sit quietly, do sense control. So it is unfair, Suppose you go to somebody's house, they have prepared for you 7-course meal. And you go there and you say, nahi, aaj mera upwas hai. Is it not an insult of that host? Bhagavan created such a lovely world. And now you are saying, live in sense control, don't engage in sense pleasures. That is such a terrible thing. We should enjoy. So you see in this course material, you have this page 8. What is given there is how human being is attached to the senses. And being attached to the senses, what all the human being wants? Shabdadibhi panchabhireva pancha panchatvamapu gunena baddhaha kuranga matanga patanga meena bhringa nara panchabhiranchita kim. So Shabdadibhihi. So Shabda is sound. Shabda Sparsha is touch. Shabda Sparsha Rupa, form. Rasa, taste. And Gandha is smell. So these are all sense objects. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. So Shabdadibhi, Adi means etc. So Shabdadibhi means these 5. These 5 sense objects things to see, things to hear, things to smell, taste, touch. Shabdadivi pancha bhireva pancha. And one is so identified with this, one wants to enjoy with these five senses. Who these five animals? Pancha. Who are these five elements? Animals. Kuranga. Deer. So the deer is attached to sound. So this deer, when it is attached to sound, see, deer jumps very fast and you can't catch it so easily. But if the hunter wants to kill the deer, what the hunter will do? Play music, stringed instrument especially, and the deer will listen and stops to listen, and the hunter shoots. Gone. Deer killed. Kuranga. Then Matanga is the elephant. His touch. These elephants, they rub against each other and they walk. Sometimes in the mating season, they are very careless, not alert. So this pit is dug and it is covered with grass. And these elephants don't realize they are walking and they get trapped. They fall and they are bound. Kuranga, Matanga. Patanga. See, he is given examples also in the same order. Patanga is that moth. How the moth is attracted to this light and it immolates itself. Kuranga, Matanga. It can't resist the pull of that light. Kuranga, Matanga, Patanga. Meena. Fish is attached to taste. It knows that this worm is there, is like a bait, but it still goes and gets caught. And Bringa is the bee. So this bee knows that this flower is going to close. But the attachment to that, the bee remains in that, the smell attachment to it, it gets trapped. So what is the conclusion? Shankaracharya ji says here, Swagunena baddhaha panchatvam apuhu. See, this word is very nice. Death is described here as panchatvam apuhu. Panchatvam apuhu means dead, died. Meaning the body went back to five elements. That's a beautiful Sanskrit word for death. Instead of saying mrityu, you can say panchatvam apuhu. That person went back to five elements. So, swagunena baddha, each one is attached to one only. Elephant is only attached to the touch. Deer is only attached to sound. Only one sense organ is fascinated by the sense objects and the mind is compelled and that animal just gravitates towards it without any control. Shankaracharya laments, what about human being who is attached to all the five? Bringa nara panchabiranchita kim. Human being is attached to all five. And this is limited to five senses of knowledge. What about five senses of action? Human being is attached to 10. And being attached to 10, the mind is pulled by all the 10 senses. And what does human being want? Shanti. How? Being pulled everywhere and wantedly engaging in everything. What do I want? Shanti. How that will work? So the identification with the gross body makes us feel that the pleasure of the body is my pleasure, pain of the body is my pain. And one becomes so extroverted because the whole life then becomes what? Bhoga or pleasure becomes the goal of life. That's why Vivekananda ji said what? Knowledge is the goal of life, not pleasure. Knowledge of my true self. You see, our problem as a human being is we have a choice. So animals, their pleasure seeking and pleasure pursuit is controlled by nature. So they will eat in a certain way, in a certain season, they will mate in a certain season, they will sleep in a certain season. It is governed by nature. Properly it goes on. But human being has a choice. Finished. Now the whole mind is behind bhoga only. seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching continuously. And one gets exhausted with that. You think about it, work and knowledge, both that we gain in today's life, are meant for what? They are meant for wealth. Wealth is meant for enjoyment. That's all. The ultimate goal. So, work and knowledge become the means for enjoyment. See, there is nothing wrong in enjoying, but that is not the goal of life at all. But generally, that's what becomes the goal of life is that. Because my identification is with the body. So, what is important is for me to know I am not this body. I use this body. So, what is the line that we have to tell ourselves? I am not the body, I have a body. Meaning, I am not equal to what I have. I is always different from what I have. So, I am not the body, I just have a body. And if any time these thoughts come, I am not looking so great now. Some pimple has come, some wrinkle has come, some white hair has come. That body's dharma, it is not mine. Body will go through. And if I need to do something to take care of it, do it. But not connected to I. So this is this particular chapter that one has to give up this identification with the body. So there are two more verses from Vivek Chudamani, simple verses, nice ones, you can reflect on them. Doshena tivro vishaya Krishna sarpa vishadapi. These sense objects are more dangerous than even cobra's poison. Krishna sarpa is cobra. Why they are dangerous than cobra poison? Because poison can destroy only someone who consumes. If I see cobra or if I see cobra's poison in a bottle, will it destroy me? But sense object can destroy. Because the moment I see, desire arises. Out of sight is many times out of mind. But if I see, that's why all this window shopping, online shopping is all. The moment I see, bas. Till then it was not even there in the head. The moment I see, now I want that. Then the whole Dhyato Vishayan Pumsa, the 8 steps of ladder of fall happen, that person dies. Dies meaning perishes. Mentally the all vitality, everything gone. That's why it says, Visham nihanti bhoktaram drashtaram chakshusapyayam. Meaning what? This is not to scare us. Not to say that, oh God, means what? I can't even see anything in the world. No, don't identify with it. Happiness is not from there. Happiness is our nature. Use it. Take care of the body. See this beautiful line in our Shastra, Shariram Adhyam Khalu Dharma Sadhanam. Body is the first tool to do dharma, to realize Brahman. So to take care of the tool as a tool, like how a doctor takes care of his instruments. Only instrument. So take care of the body. And precious human body, Satkarma Janyam, it was said. So having said this is the lesson number 5. So this completes lesson 5. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.